Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're a fan of Tribe 9 or just love diving into action RPGs, you're in for a real treat. But let's be real for a second, if you've been playing for a while, you know the struggle of grinding for currency. It feels like you're always maxing out pity and wishing for that one perfect pull. We've all been there, right? But don't worry, because today we're diving into the ultimate Tribe 9 tier list and reroll guide to help you maximize your summons and grab the most meta characters that will give you a solid head start in the game. We've got you covered with all the insights you need to make sure every pull counts. Whether you're looking for those top tier characters to build your squad or need to make the most of your rerolls, we'll walk you through everything you need to know. No more wasting resources, let's get you those powerful characters and set you up for success. So sit back, relax, and let's jump right into the guide. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking characters in Tribe 9. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Mita Santaro, Hyakuichi Taro Senju, Koichi Kohinata, and Tsuki Iroha. Alright, buckle up because we're diving into the C tier characters from Tribe 9. These guys are, well, let's just say they're not exactly the stars of the show, but hey, they still have their moments, so let's break down what they bring to the table and what they really don't. Grab your popcorn, it's time to take a fun little ride through the world of Tribe 9. First up, we've got Mita Santaro. Now, Mita can be a pretty solid teammate if you're looking to provide some support. He buffs your allies with his Inspire skill, giving them a nice little boost to their attack. He can also taunt enemies and auto-dodge their attacks like a boss. And if you're in need of a crowd control moment, his ultimate can gather enemies up in one spot. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. His DPS is super low, like barely making a dent in enemies, and his attacks don't really break shields as efficiently as you'd hope. Oh, and did I mention that his buffs only apply to one ally per attack trigger? So yeah, he's more about the support life but doesn't really pack that punch you might be looking for. Next up, let's talk about Hyakuichi Taro Senju. This guy's got some decent single target, DPS and break abilities. He's a solid pick for dealing damage, and his defensive buffs for allies aren't too shabby either. But here's the thing, his support abilities kind of rely on uptime. You need to be on the grind to really get all of his buffs going, and that can be a little annoying to maintain. He's a good character, but honestly, there are better support characters out there. So while he's definitely usable, you might want to think twice if you're gunning for something more powerful. Now, onto Koichi Kohinata. Koishi's a bit of a mixed bag. He's got some decent DPS and break potential for a support character, and early on, his healing can really help your team out. But here's where the issues start. Later in the game, his healing just doesn't scale well. At that point, having another DPS character is just going to serve you better, and his overall kit, well, it's lacking. He's not the worst, but he's certainly not going to be your MVP unless you're really in a pinch. And then there's Tsuki Iroha. Oh, Tsuki. She's the definition of a jack of all trades, master of none. She doesn't really excel at anything, which makes her pretty weak when compared to the other 2-star characters. Honestly, you're probably better off looking elsewhere. She doesn't bring anything unique to the table, and you'll quickly realize there are much stronger picks in the game. So just skip her if you're serious about getting the best out of your team. But hey, don't let me discourage you too much. These characters are still usable in certain situations. They have their moments, and if you've got a soft spot for them, they can definitely hold their own in the right context. Just don't expect them to carry the team when the going gets tough. And there you have it, folks. The C tier characters of Tribe 9 aren't the worst, but they're definitely not the ones you'll be relying on in the long run. If you've got these characters on your roster, you might want to start looking for some stronger options to really level up your game. Stay tuned for more breakdowns on who to keep and who to ditch in your Tribe 9 adventures. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Eiji Todoroki, Minami Oi, and Roku Saigo. Alright folks, let's dive into some of the meh characters in Tribe 9. These guys have their moments, but when it comes down to it, they're just not the best picks for your team. So grab some popcorn and let's break down who's living in the B tier. First up, we've got Eiji Todoroki. Now this guy is all about helping out your team. He buffs ally crit rate and both primary and secondary attack damage. And don't forget, he's got a taunt that can draw enemy attention away from your squishier characters. So what's the problem? Well, his DPS is just awful. If you're looking for some heavy hitters, AG is not your guy. His skills and attacks break all over the place, and when your team's already weak, he doesn't add much value. Plus, when you already have a DPS or two on the field, his buffs might not make up for the lack of firepower. Moving on to Minami Oe. This one's a bit of a mixed bag. She's fantastic at keeping your team alive with solid heals and shields, but when it comes to damage, not so much. Her ultimate's great for AoE damage, but her overall deeps and break just don't hold up. What's worse is that she gets outclassed by 3-star supports, which is a bit of a problem. If you're already struggling for damage, adding Minami to the mix might not be the best choice. More DPS might be exactly what your team needs instead of more heals. Next, let's chat about Roku Saigo. He's a big tank with some serious durability. I mean, this guy's tough as nails, his break is off the charts, and he's got a solid AoE DPS to boot. Oh, and did I mention he taunts enemies? Great for drawing aggro, but here's the catch, tanks just aren't always necessary, and other characters outshine him when it comes to break and DPS. Plus, his single target DPS leaves a lot to be desired. So, if you're looking for someone to dish out heavy damage, Roku's a bit of a letdown in that department. You see, these B tier characters aren't bad by any means. They have their uses, but there's always something better around the corner. If you're just starting out, they might do alright, but as your roster grows and you start stacking up stronger characters, these guys just don't cut it anymore. It's all about finding the right balance between support, DPS, and tanking, and unfortunately, these B tier heroes often come up a little short. So while it's tempting to give these characters a chance, don't get too attached. There's always room for improvement when you've got better options on the table. You'll find that with a few upgrades and some careful team composition, you'll be outclassing these B tier heroes in no time. But hey, they're still fun to use occasionally, right? And that wraps up our look at the B tier characters in Tribe 9. If you've got any B tier faves, let me know in the comments. Do you think I'm being too harsh on these guys? Or are they really just placeholders until something better comes along? Either way, keep playing smart and keep leveling up those characters. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Gyo Takinagawa, Miu Jujo, Yutaka Gotanda, and Yo Kuronaka. Alright, let's dive into the wild world of like Tribe 9 and talk about some of the A tier characters you should definitely keep an eye on. These guys bring some serious power to your team, but they each have their own unique flair and quirks that can make or break your strategy. First up, we've got Gyo Takinagawa. This guy is a monster when it comes to sustained DPS thanks to his venom stacks. Seriously, once those stacks build up, it's like watching your enemies slowly wither away. What's great about Gyo is that he's easy to use, no complex mechanics to worry about, just pure damage. However, it does take a little bit of time for that venom to really start ramping up. Plus, his break value is a bit on the low side, so don't expect him to smash shields like some of the others. Still, for raw DPS, he's a beast. Next, let's talk about Miu Jujo. If you need someone who can dish out insane range single target DPS, Miu's your gal. She's a dream for kiting enemies around, so if you love that playstyle, she's a solid pick. She's super easy to use, so even if you're not the most skilled player, you can still get a lot of value from her. That said, she does suffer from low break values, and when compared to other 3-star DPS characters, she falls a bit short in terms of overall power. But for single target damage, Miu shines. Moving on to Yutaka Gotanda, who brings some serious AoE damage to the table. His ultimate is ridiculously strong, and it makes clearing mobs feel like a breeze. Yutaka also has a ton of AoE skills, so you can keep the damage flowing without breaking a sweat. His continuous range DPS isn't bad either, so he's versatile in most situations. However, his break values are still relatively low, and the need to dodge occasionally might slow down your overall deeps. His damage isn't quite as insane as some of the 3-star characters, but for AoE farming, Yutaka's got your back. Now, let's give some love to Yo Kuronaka. This guy might be a 2-star character, but he packs a punch with his break values. Seriously, his attacks hit hard when it comes to breaking shields, and that's a huge plus in tougher battles. He also has solid DPS for his tier, so even though he's not on the same level as some 3-stars, he's still a reliable pick. However, don't expect much utility from him, and once you start pulling in those 3-star characters, Yo does get outscaled. But for what he is, he's a pretty solid choice in the right situations. Gyo Takinagawa is definitely the top pick for those who want to watch their enemies suffer over time. His venom stacks can melt opponents, and once you get the hang of it, his damage output is insane. The only downside is that it takes a little while to set up, so you'll need to be patient to really see the payoff. Miu Jujo, on the other hand, is perfect for anyone who loves ranged DPS. Her ability to kite enemies while dealing crazy damage is unmatched. Just keep an eye on her break values, because once you face enemies with heavy shields, she might struggle a bit. but when it comes to pure damage output, she's a top tier pick. For AoE lovers, Yutaka Gatanda is your go-to guy. His ultimate can wipe out groups of enemies in seconds, and he's got AoE skills for days. He might not have the highest break values, but when you need to clear out large mobs, Yutaka's your man. And let's not forget about Yo Kuronaka, the little powerhouse. He may not have the utility of other characters, but his break power and solid DPS for a 2-star character make him a decent option early on. As you progress and unlock more powerful characters, he'll start to feel a bit outclassed, but if you need a reliable shield breaker, Yo's got you covered. So there you have it. These A-tier characters in Tribe 9 each bring something special to the table. Whether you're looking for insane DPS, AoE destruction, or a solid shield breaker, there's someone for every playstyle. Keep experimenting and find the ones that work best for your team, and you'll be dominating the battlefield in no time. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, got Kazuki Aoyama, Inoki Yukigaya, and Tsuruko Semba. Alright, so let's dive right into the heart of the action, shall we? If you're looking to take your game to the next level in Tribe 9, you need some serious firepower, and today we're talking about the absolute cream of the crop, the S-tier characters that are the kings and queens of the battlefield. These characters are not just good, they redefine what it means to dominate. Let's kick things off with Q. Man, Q is a total beast. High DPS? Check. Insane break capability? Check. And the best part? He's got automatic evasion and deflection while attacking during his berserk mode. You heard that right. He doesn't just dish out damage, he's almost untouchable while doing it. Plus, he taunts enemies like a true powerhouse, making him a prime pick for anyone looking to lay down the hurt. But here's the thing, you gotta manage those madness stacks carefully. If you mess up, things can go south fast. Still, if you can handle the heat, Q is a total game changer. Next up, we have Kazuki Aoyama. This guy is the full package. He's got high DPS, massive break on everything, and even shields himself and his allies for a percentage of their max HP. Talk about keeping your squad alive while also obliterating enemies. And when he pops his ultimate, forget about it. Insane damage that will make anyone second guess facing him head on. But just like with Q, managing those memory stacks can be tricky, so you need to be on your A game. If you can nail it, Kazuki is an absolute powerhouse. Now, let's talk about Inoki Yukigaya. She's one of the best single target DPS characters in the game. Absolutely broken if you know how to play her right. Her skills hit like a truck, and if you can keep up with the heat stacks and perfect evade mechanics, you're in for a treat. The downside, she's not exactly loaded with utility, and if you can't manage those stacks, things can get ugly. Still, if you're after pure, unrelenting damage, Inoki is a top tier pick, no doubt about it. And then there's Tsuruko Semba. She's your go-to for sustained range DPS. Tsuruko's skills hit hard across the board, and if you need some solid AoE to clear out a bunch of enemies at once, she's your girl. But the real magic happens when she uses her ultimate. It's basically a healing party on steroids, keeping your squad topped off even through the toughest battles. That being said, she does have a bit of a drawback with her break. It's not the highest, so don't expect her to melt through armored targets like the others. But as a support, she's top tier for sure. When you put all these characters together, it's clear. S tier isn't just a label, it's a lifestyle. Whether you want a character that can dish out raw DPS, shield your allies, or heal your squad back to full health, these characters have got you covered. But, and this is a big but, managing their unique mechanics is key to getting the most out of them. If you can master their stacks, buffs, and abilities, you'll be wiping the floor with your opponents in no time. So, whether you're building a squad for insane damage or one that's got your back in every situation, these S tier characters are the ones you want on your team. Trust me, once you get a feel for their playstyles, they'll become a force to be reckoned with. But don't just take my word for it, get in there and start mastering these legends yourself. And there you have it, folks. The S tier characters of Tribe 9 are not just good, they're absolutely game-breaking. Each one brings something unique to the table, and with the right strategy, they can carry you straight to the top. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.